Hey yo there, what do you hear, what do you say? Sandcaster here, and today I'd like to talk about the importance of small wins. When you look at a given problem that seems initially too large to solve by itself, one thing that you can do to make it easier is to break it down into a bunch of smaller goals. And that is pretty much calculus in a nutshell when you sort of think about it, right? When you sort of have like one really difficult problem, instead of just sort of looking at it and trying to like figure out all in one go, you break it up into infinitesimally small parts, right? So to use like an analogy, imagine you had an area, right? And the area was straight, so it was literally, in this case, since it's straight and the gradient is constant, then that means it's just the side times its side, right? However, imagine one of the sides is curved ever so slightly, right? So that means the gradient isn't constant. How would you go about solving it, right? Well, what you would do is you would sort of try to think to yourself, and you would think, okay, well, what are the sort of methods I can use to sort of solve this, right? And one of the things you might be tempted to do, and one of the things that actually works, is sort of getting a sort of small slices of the shape and sort of trying to sort of figure out each little part piecemeal and then sort of adding them all together. Now, the thing about this process is that the smaller you do it, the more accurate it becomes, ever so slightly, right? And the thing to keep in mind is that all goals are like this. Every single goal that you can imagine, every goal that you can conceive of, everything that you can imagine can basically be broken down into a bunch of small incremental steps that you can do, right? So for me, I really struggle a lot when it comes to sort of being consistent, right? That's one of my goals. And one of my goals this year is to be more consistent, is to do the same thing again and again and again. Basically, because I think that's what success really is. It's just doing those right important little habits day in, day out, even when you don't feel like it, right? So there's a lot of mechanisms you can sort of do to sort of ensure that you keep at those goals and keep on doing those goals. But the thing to keep in mind foremost is that all the goals that you have, all the things that you think are impossible, all the things you think that you can't do, or that people have told you can't do, or that it just seems impossible, but you just have to keep in mind that it's not, right? If, let's say, okay, you want to be a millionaire, right? That's a pretty big goal, right? But let's sort of break it down. Let's try to make it so like more fundamental, right? One is that you want to be financially independent, right? Like that's something that you can sort of reasonably do, right? If you're sort of disciplined and you focus and that sort of thing, right? So you think, okay, well, before I be a millionaire, I need to be financially independent, right? How do I be financially independent? Well, maybe I'll start reading like some books and stuff like that. And before I do that, maybe I'll make a habit of trying to read 10 pages a day for 30 days, and then incrementally to 20, then to 30, then to 40, and then so on and so forth until you're reading a book a week, right? So that's like a sort of rough sketch of a plan as to how you would go about becoming a millionaire, right? And pretty much all plans are like this, right? So for me personally, I would really like to do like a master's program in mathematics and physics, right? But that's a long way away, right? That's a really big goal of mine, right? But it's manageable, it's doable. I'm already like a third of the way there, and you could say in some sense, right, to being eligible, right? So just keeping in mind the fact that every single one of your goals are sort of like this, right? That you're just a couple daily disciplines away from getting towards like one goal, and then a couple daily disciplines away from getting towards another goal, then a couple daily disciplines away towards another goal, right? And just keeping that in mind, right? Realizing that every moment is important, that every single second counts, right? Realizing that you don't have one more day, right? All, you know, in the future, at some point in given time, at whatever, right? That's not going to cut it, right? It just isn't, right? Because when you have that sort of one more day mentality, right? You wake up and you realize that you're old, right? You looked around, you're 40 years old, and you haven't achieved the goals that you wanted to achieve. You're not in the place that you want to be. You're not earning the money you want to be. You're not in the relationships you want to be. You're not in the finances you want to be, right? That's what that one more day mentality gets you, right? But if you just decide, okay, I'm just going to put aside a couple minutes a day, a couple hours a day, just towards focusing on my goals, on myself, on my improvement, right? Then you're going to get there, right? It's impossible, right? Like how can it be the case that you put like hours of effort into a given task, right? And you get no return on investment? It's just not feasible, right? So just keeping in mind that all of your goals are basically just the summation of a bunch of smaller goals, right? So just keeping that in mind, right? And for me, something that I've wanted to do for a really long time now is editing, right? And animation in particular. For the past like 30 minutes, I've been trying to install Manim, right? And trying to get it to run, but unfortunately it hasn't worked, and that really sucks. But I should be able to get some basic editing in. I think I'm going to be using a software called Shotcut. It's free and open source, just the way I like it. And yeah, I hope to ensure that every single one of my videos is edited, and obviously I want the quality of the videos to exponentially increase, right? Because right now I'm really not happy. I've basically just been getting like GIFs and just been having them on repeat over and over again. But I think that what I want to do now is just try to ensure that every one of my videos is better than the last, right? And I don't think I want to belabor the point. So yeah, I think this is Sandkazer logging off. Take care and see you on Friday.